if I could get 4 of you to understand, it's just not gonna matter when people, I mean, I love when people, I don't even know what else to tell you. I'm gonna say it very clear. Stefan, get very focused here because I wanna really deliver this with all the drama that it deserves. And I like when people put me down. I get off on when people put me down. Nothing is more interesting to me than to prove all of you wrong. I love the people that think I'm a huckster, or I've got some hidden agenda, or I'm not that good, or I won't be that great, or I think too big of myself, or my dad had a liquor store and that's the only reason I'm successful, or I got lucky, or show me, like please, please, please continue to judge me and underestimate me because it's the only driver I have and that's how I'm wired. But it is what it is. And at the end of the day, it's not gonna matter. And you have to love yourself first and feel good and complete with yourself first. So as a 15-year-old, I would do what I did as a 15-year-old, which is start building those skills and not listen to your parents and not listen to your teachers and not listen to your friends. Respect it, but don't let anybody impose their way on you. It's you, you're with yourself, and you've got to make yourself happy first. Prince, as he was taking his last breath, and it's a big shout out to Prince, I'm a huge fan. I don't think Prince cared what Billboard magazine said or what anybody said. It's just the way it is. It's the way it is. And so if through this plea on this show on 201 on a Monday in late spring, if I could get 4 of you to understand.
Don't give away your power. So anytime some nasty criticism or BS comes your way, you have to say this: you cannot take me down. I will not give you that power. I want you to make that your new mantra in life. You got to realize that people can say whatever they want, but you do not have to take it in and you don't have to let it ruin your day. Your time on this earth is so precious and it's really, really important that you protect your soul.
If you want to be a winner, then compare yourself to the best and acknowledge that will never happen without hard work. Abe Lincoln used to say, good things may come to those who wait, but only those things left by those who hustle. If you want to be a leader, act like a leader. If you want to be respected and trusted, then demonstrate you deserve it by earning it every day. If you want to be known as honest, not telling lies is not sufficient. Don't even shave the truth. And make sure your friends and colleagues will always bring you back to earth when you, like we all do at times, are deceiving yourself.
I've become an expert on this because I was one of those being bullied. And most people wouldn't think of that about me because I'm 6'7", but I was actually always the smallest kid in my class. Part of what kept me going was a vision in my mind that said, they may do this to me today, but someday, you know, my life will be more. I won't be the person that people verbally or physically abuse. And I remember being in high school and envisioning someday I was going to become the successful person and I was going to make a difference. And I become, you know, financially successful. The fact that we had no money was one of the things that I was bullied about most. And I remember I signed in a couple of these bullies' annuals at the end of the year. I got hold of their annuals and I wrote these horrible things. I became the bully, right? They didn't know it. I wrote these horrible things saying, someday you'll be a truck driver and I'll be rich and famous and you'll be there wishing you were me and treating me better. And so I remember I went to my 10-year high school reunion. I talked to my mom, and my mom has not been much of a coach in my life, quite frankly. But that day she was really interesting. She said, what's going on? I said, oh, I'm going to my 10-year high school reunion, and I just want to say hello. I'm driving my way up. And she goes, honey, I can hear something in your voice. What is it? I said, nothing. And what it was is when I was going up there, I remembered what it was like 10 years before when I felt so alone, when I felt totally an outsider, when I feared for what was going to happen to me physically or at least being harassed. And I felt, you know, just so different, outside and alone. And she said, honey, she said, I didn't tell her any of that. And she said, honey, you were always the outsider. You were always the loner. And she goes, look what being different got you. She goes, now, how many people are in your high school? And I said, I don't know, 2,000. She goes, 5,000 people show up to hear you speak. She said, you know, for one weekend. She said, look what that's done. And that's why I try to tell young people that are going through it is, again, it's not where you start out, it's where you end up. Some of the toughest experiences in life will give you drive if you don't let it destroy you. If you realize that this person who's a bully because they're massively insecure, and just go, this is temporary, and get yourself with a peer group of people who respect you, who love you, appreciate you, who you appreciate and love, and spend more of your time there. you'll find yourself, if you're filled up by the rest of your life, you can handle the challenges there. If it gets physical, then you got to go to some authority that can help stop that situation if you can't protect yourself.
The goal has to be specific and measurable. How much by when? When there isn't any criteria for measurement, it is simply something you want. We call it a wish, a preference, or just a good idea, but it doesn't register in the mind as a goal. So you got to decide, what is it you want? And then be specific. For example, I want to lose weight is vague, but it might become, I will weigh 135 pounds by August 1st at 5 p.m. Or I will increase my income to $80,000 a year by December 31st at midnight. Or I will live in a 35,000 square foot home as big as the one Bill Gates has by December 31st at midnight. Now notice in these examples, they all stated how much by when, a specific amount that you can measure by a specific time that can be measured. Now an easy place to start when you're setting goals is to simply look at one area in your life that you would like to be different. It might be where there's something negative or disturbing that you'd like to eliminate, or it might be where there's something missing that you'd like to create, something you'd like more of, more money, more love, more time. Now once you've decided what you want, you can either do something about it or not. It's your choice. And you have the responsibility for your choices. But bear in mind that you have to be willing to change your behavior and do something different if you want to create a different outcome. You have to be willing to take whatever risks are necessary to get what you want. Now, if you've already taken some initial steps in the right direction towards some of your goals, now's the time to decide what next steps do you need to take to keep moving you toward your chosen goal. You see, it's very liberating when you finally realize that you have the power to make your life whatever you want it to be. It's a wonderful feeling knowing that your success does not really depend on anyone else. So if you're looking for one thing to do different today than you did yesterday, make it this. Commit to taking 100% responsibility for every aspect of your life. Then choose what it is you want. Decide what actions you're going to need to take to create it, and then take those actions one step at a time. Now, there are a lot of things you can learn to do to accelerate your success, but the basics that will move you from where you are to where you want to be are simply this. Decide what you want, take control of your thoughts, visualize what you want, make a plan, and then take action. Actualize your plan. Start with these simple steps, and I promise you that you'll start seeing the results you want.
But when I was young, I think I would have made those same mistakes if I didn't have my father in my life. You know, just being a coach that was extremely hard on me. You know, I think that if he didn't discipline me in boxing, I don't really know where, how my career would have played out. You know, I didn't want to slack, and I didn't want to seem irresponsible or not disciplined. So that's why I always you got to sacrifice something to get something. So that's why I've always made sacrifices to get to a certain level. And to get to the pinnacle, you got to make sacrifices, and that's what I did.
We studied rookie teachers working in really tough neighborhoods, asking which teachers are still going to be here in teaching by the end of the school year. And of those, who will be the most effective at improving learning outcomes for their students? We partnered with private companies asking which of these salespeople is going to keep their jobs and who's going to earn the most money. In all those very different contexts, one characteristic emerged as a significant predictor of success. And it wasn't social intelligence, it wasn't good looks, physical health, and it wasn't IQ. It was grit. Grit is passion and perseverance for very long-term goals. Grit is having stamina. Grit is sticking with your future, day in, day out, not just for the week, not just for the month, but for years, and working really hard to make that future a reality. Grit is living life like it's a marathon, not a sprint. A few years ago, I started studying grit in the Chicago public schools. I asked thousands of high school juniors to take grit questionnaires, and then waited around more than a year to see who would graduate. Turns out that grittier kids were significantly more likely to graduate, even when I matched them on every characteristic I could measure. Things like family income, standardized achievement test scores, even how safe kids felt when they were at school. So it's not just at West Point or the National Spelling Bee that grit matters, it's also in school, especially for kids at risk for dropping out.